All right. Does that help refresh your recollection?
Yes, I believe that. I believe he had apologized to me after the phone incident. I had commitments that I had to attend the following day on the 22nd. So the beach show I referenced to you, I had to go. I also had to bring a cake to the party. So I had things I unfortunately had to do that day. And I remember there was communication with Johnny, both by phone and by text, where he was telling me that he was clean, that he was sober, he was clear mind, it wasn't the monster, and that he was so sorry. But I had already committed to filing for divorce, and eventually I have to let him know that it's not just saying it in the anger, in the fights that like we had done, both he and I did that at times in some of our fights, especially towards the end of our relationship. And so I let him know that I was serious about filing this time, and that I had enough after the phone.
Objection, Your Honor, hearsay.
I had enough.
Okay.
Overruled. Go ahead.
All right. I'm going to draw your attention to the bottom of the page, Defendant's Exhibit 773, and this is at 5:22. So this is 6:19 p.m. Do you see that? 5:22, and he says, "Just let me know when you have a minute, and I'll give you a call. Nothing I have to say. You should elicit anything but a sense of ease." Do you see that?
Yes.
And then he says, "All my love and profound apologies." What was he apologizing for?
Objection, calls for speculation.
What was your understanding of what he was apologizing for?
Speculation, Your Honor.
I'll sustain the objection.
Okay. In his phone call with you, did he tell you what he was apologizing for?
Yes.
What did he say?
He was sorry that he reacted the way he did. He said he didn't mean to hurt me. He didn't mean to hurt me. If he really hurt me that bad, he's sorry. That he didn't mean to.
Objection, calls for speculation.
Okay. Michelle, if we can go to the next page.
Speculation, Your Honor.
Up to the green, please. And he says here, "I'm sad, I'm scared, and I'm broken, my sweet Slim." And then he says, "I want you happy. I have zero harsh feelings. I am clear and I am me." What did you understand him to mean by "I am clear and I am me"?
Objection, Your Honor, calls for speculation.
Do you?
I know what he meant.
Okay.
But, Your Honor,
Did
there's
he
a lot.
use that phrase with you?
Hold on. I'll sustain that objection.
I'm trying to get to the
I
next
know.
one here.
Then you can ask your next question. Go
Thank
ahead.
you. Did he use those phrases with you during your marriage?
Yes, he did.
What did Mr. Depp mean when he says "I am clear and I am me"?
Objection, calls for speculation.
I think I established the foundation.
Overruled. Go ahead.
Thank you.
That he had sobered up. That he had sobered up and he was not the monster again, that he was him. That he was a good guy I loved. The one that I trusted.
I'll sustain that objection. I know. Then you can ask your next question.
All right. Now I'm going to ask Michelle if you can take that one down and bring in 771, which has already been admitted.
Objection.
Now those text exchanges were in the 6 o'clock to almost 7 o'clock range. And here, it's 5:22, it's now 8 o'clock, correct?
Yes.
And he's telling you, sorry if a bit, please know that my hurt towards you is over. My apologies are eternal and belong to you. Solid. Do you see that?
Yes.
Okay. And was it your understanding he was apologizing again?
Objection, Your Honor. Calls for speculation.
All right, I'll sustain the objection.
Okay. Was there anything else he would have been apologizing for that he had done?
Objection. Calls for
I'll
speculation.
sustain the objection.
So tell the jury how you felt in that week, May 22 through May 27, and what you decided to do.
At the time, it felt like the hardest thing I've ever had to do. I had worked so hard to try to make this relationship work. I went to therapy, I went to Al-Anon, I got help, I read books, I did everything I could possibly do, and it didn't work. And I was conflicted. To answer your question, I was conflicted. I knew after he threw the phone at my face that after all that month of not seeing each other, not getting better, not getting clean and sober, there wasn't even, I didn't, you know, it was falling apart. And I knew I had to leave him. I knew I wouldn't. And I knew I wouldn't survive it if I didn't. So I was conflicted. I made the decision. To answer your question, I was conflicted. I knew after he threw the phone at my face that, you know, I loved all that month of not seeing each other. That I loved him, not getting better, not getting clean and sober. There wasn't even, I didn't, you know,
And why did you file for divorce?
It was falling apart. And I knew I had to leave him. I knew I wouldn't. I knew if I didn't, and I knew I wouldn't survive it if I didn't. So I was conflicted. I made the decision. To answer your question, I was literally conflicted. I knew after he threw the phone at my face that, you know, I loved all that month of not seeing each other. That I loved him, not getting better, not getting clean and sober. There wasn't even, for me, I didn't, you know,
And why did you file for divorce?
I really didn't want to leave it. It was falling apart. And I knew I had to leave him. I loved him. I knew I wouldn't. I knew if I didn't, so much. I knew I wouldn't survive it if I didn't. So I wouldn't have done anything. But I just didn't. To answer your question, I was literally conflicted. I knew after he threw the phone at my face that, you know, I loved all that month of not seeing each other. I loved him, not getting better, not getting clean and sober. There wasn't even,
more and more rare. The monster had been this thing that was now the normal and not the exception.
I didn't want to leave it.
The violence is now normal and not the exception.
I loved him. I wouldn't. I knew if I didn't, so much. I knew I wouldn't survive it if I didn't. So I wouldn't have done anything. So I didn't. To answer your question, I was literally conflicted. I knew after he threw the phone at my face that, you know, I loved all that month of not seeing each other. I loved him, not getting better, not getting clean and sober. There wasn't even,
more and more rare. The monster had been this thing that was now the normal and not the exception.
I didn't want to leave it.
The violence is now normal and not the exception.
I loved him. I wouldn't. I knew if I didn't, so much. I knew I wouldn't survive it if I didn't. So I just didn't. To answer your question, I was literally conflicted. I knew after he threw the phone at my face that, you know, I loved all that month of not seeing each other. I loved him, not getting better, not getting clean and sober. There wasn't even,
The monster had been this thing that was now the normal and not the exception.
I didn't want to leave it.
The violence is now normal and not the exception.
I loved him. I wouldn't. I knew if I didn't, so much. I knew I would survive it if I didn't. So I just didn't. To answer your question, I was literally conflicted. I knew after he threw the phone at my face. I loved him. I loved him. I didn't.
now the exception. We didn't want to leave it. The Bible is now more just an exception. Panic. I didn't scared of so much. I saved my life. I just answered your question. I was literally so dead when I realized that I couldn't help you. My faith, my love, my situation, my love,
communication, and we let them know. We had to. It was mandatory. It's my understanding of it. I'm not a lawyer.
Was there any confusion surrounding whether Mr. Depp was going to file suit as well?
Objection, Your Honor. Calls for speculation,
I'm asking
lack of
for-
foundation.
All right, I'll sustain as the foundation if you want.
Did you have any confusion as to whether Mr. Depp was going to file as well?
So I filed for divorce on the 23rd, I believe, and I thought that when I went in that Tuesday, when we filed for it, remarkably, it managed to stay under the radar. You know, these filings are not private. You can't make them private in California. And remarkably, it had flown under the radar. No one picked up on the fact that I had filed. And as limited as it sounds now, I just wanted as much privacy as we could have. You know, one day at a time, I wanted as much privacy as we could possibly get. And the filing had been missed by TMZ and, you know, these paparazzi outlets and stuff. But between the communications between our counsel, I realized that Johnny was going to file in
Objection,
retaliation.
hearsay.
All right, I'll sustain the objection.
I'm trying to think how to ask this. So, without saying what the counsel said, what was your understanding and what was your concern?
Objection, hearsay.
I'll sustain the objection.
All right, well, let's move on. Michelle, can you bring up Defendant's Exhibit 800, please? Move the admission of Defendant's Exhibit 800.
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, 800 in evidence, publish.
Amber, can you describe for the jury what this picture is?
It's a picture of my face while I'm sitting at the courthouse.
And were you wearing any makeup?
I was wearing nothing, not a stitch of makeup.
Michelle, can you bring up 801, please? Move the admission of 801.
No objection.
801 in evidence, publish.
And Amber, if you can tell the jury what this is.
That's me while I was obtaining my restraining order. It's me in the courthouse.
Okay. And what, if anything, did you do while you were at the courthouse? Did you testify?
Oh, I provided testimony and sat there and cried.
And did you obtain a domestic violence restraining order, temporary restraining
I did. The court granted me a restraining order at that time.
When you left the courthouse, what did you experience?
I walked into the courthouse. It was quiet, first thing in the morning. no one knew about my divorce, so I thought it was going to stay that way, and I walked out to a sea of paparazzi and cameras, photographers. It was, to that point, at that point in my life, had never seen so many photographers, and they just surrounded me as I walked out of that courthouse and screamed at me, screamed horrible things at me.
I'm going to take you just for a moment to makeup, and then that would
Okay,
after
good
that.
break point. Okay, great.
That'll be
All right,
a
thank
good
you.
breaking point after the makeup. You said
Yes.
that you didn't testify. You didn't wear any makeup that day. We've heard all kinds of things about makeup in this case. Could you please tell the jury what your regular routine was with respect to makeup?
Yes, I get up and wash my face like most of us, and I put on right away a moisturizer that has tinted foundation in it. And then I put another foundation on because it has sunblock in it. I have a skin condition that my skin reacts to the sun in a bad way. So I have to wear sunscreen or sunblock every day. Anyway, so I put on both of those. I put on concealer, and I do that before I leave my bathroom in the morning. Okay. That's obviously if I don't have a bruise.
Now, when you had bruises or cuts of any nature, what would you do about those? Would you try to cover them up? Would you try to just leave them showing? What would you do?
Objection, Your Honor, leading.
Overruled out loud. Go ahead.
Well, I'm typically photographed in LA when I leave the house, paparazzi type of photograph. So I'm somewhat aware of that anyway. And no woman wants to walk around with a bruise on her face. So if I do have a bruise on my face or someplace visible, the main thing, you have to ice right away to reduce swelling because no amount of makeup can fix swelling, but it's very manageable if you ice it really soon. Arnica is also a great remedy, arnica cream. And then if you want to cover up a bruise, you obviously put foundation first, concealer, and then on top of that, I used a bruise kit. Not a bruise kit, it's a theater makeup kit, a color correction kit, but I called it my bruise kit.
And let me, I use this, I think, in opening statement, and it's Defendant's Exhibit 155.
If you could by the microphone, please.
Oh.
We can't hear you. There you go.
May I approach the witness to let
That's
her
what you
show?
could show counsel.
This is what I was talking about as a color correction kit. This is not obviously the exact one I used to carry, but I used to carry it with me all the time. Sometimes this pink is sometimes a little bit more purple of a hue, and sometimes the kits are 3 colors. You can get them in 3 or 4 colors. Sometimes they have even more. But the idea is that you want to counteract whatever color you're working with on the bruise. So the first day of bruising, the immediate is red. Red is what shows up right away. So you want to go with the opposite on the color wheel by dabbing on a bit of the green or something to counteract the red. After a day or two, you get more purple in a bruise. So you'd obviously have to go with more of the red tones, the orange tones here. Day 2 for me was always the trickiest because day 2 I feel like, day 1 and day 2 are hardest for me because that's when you get the most blues and purples and you have to deal with the sensitivity. Bruises don't like to be touched. That's the whole point. So that's the trickiest part. But after a few days, that becomes more of that blue becomes more of a brown, yellowish browns, like 5-7 days in becomes more of a yellow-green, and then fades into a brown and then into your skin. And whatever color you're working with in the bruise, you want to go opposite color on the color wheel. the opposite. I mean, so in the first couple of days when you have more of the typical bruise color, the blues and the purples, you want to go more of the orange on the color wheel as opposed to the greens that you start with. And then it progresses from there. I also noticed that bruising on your face tends to heal a lot faster than, at least for me, it was faster healing than bruises on my body, or at least it seemed like that to me. And a nose is pretty much unrecognizable after a day or two, depending on how much you ice it. Lips are the hardest because they crack and bleed, of course. But it's easy to hide with lipstick if you're a woman, or, if you wear lipstick, I suppose.
We heard some testimony of people in the week of May 21st to 27th saying that you didn't wear a stitch of makeup. Oh, was that true?
Objection, hearsay.
Overruled.
They just don't know what they're talking about. I always wear makeup.
You always wear makeup?
I mean, it's part of my bathroom routine in the morning. Wash my face. I put on moisturizer. My moisturizer has tinted foundation in it, and I'm certainly not going to walk around LA with bruises on my face.
Okay. I think this
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and take our lunch recess at this time. Again, do not do any outside research and do not discuss the case with anybody. And we'll see you in an hour, okay? Thank you. Court is still in session, so please be quiet in the gallery. Thank you. All right. And again, Ms. Hurd, since you're still under oath and testifying, you cannot discuss this case to include with your attorneys, okay? In your testimony. All right. Let's come back then at 1:40. Okay? All right, thank you. 1:40.
you.